Most people don't value you for one reason: your behavior. If people ignore you, interrupt you, cancel on you, or only call when they need something, you trained them to do that. Today, I will show you 5 simple ways to make people value you more. Not by begging, but by changing how you show up. Watch until the end, because the last point changes everything. Comment, I know my worth. Number 1. Stop over-explaining. You over-explain because you are afraid of losing approval, and you know it. You say more than necessary, not because you lack intelligence, but because you crave reassurance that your decision is acceptable. And every time someone questions you, you rush to defend yourself as if you are standing in a courtroom where your worth is on trial. You start listing reasons, circumstances, emotions, background details, trying to make your choice digestible to the other person, because deep down you want them to say, okay, that makes sense, so you can relax. And that pattern follows you everywhere. In relationships, when you explain why you were busy. In friendships, when you justify why you did not show up. At work, when you defend every small delay. And you think you are being responsible and transparent. But what you are actually communicating is uncertainty. And uncertainty lowers perceived value, because people instinctively respect conviction, not explanation. They respect stability, not negotiation. And every long defense speech quietly says, please agree with me. And once someone senses that you need their agreement to remain steady, they know they have leverage over you, so they test you more, they push more, they question more, and you respond with even more explanation, and the cycle continues. And you end up exhausted, wondering why people do not take your words seriously. But look closely at your own behavior in real time. Notice how quickly you begin to defend when someone says, why? Notice how your body tightens, how your mind races to build a case, how you think. If you can just explain it well enough, they will understand, and ask yourself why your decision needs their emotional approval to stand on its own, because a decision rooted in self-respect does not require decoration. It requires clarity, and clarity is short. Clarity is calm. Clarity does not beg. And when you practice speaking in short, decisive sentences, you immediately change the dynamic. Instead of, I'm sorry I couldn't reply earlier. I was really busy with work, and then I had to handle something at home, and I didn't want to send a rushed message. You say, I was unavailable, and you stop, and you allow the space to exist, and that space will feel uncomfortable at first because you are used to filling it. But that space is where your authority grows, because Stoic discipline begins with controlling what leaves your mouth. It begins with understanding that you cannot control how someone interprets your actions, but you can control the steadiness of your delivery. And when someone challenges your boundary and you respond without emotional excess, without storytelling, without defensive tone, you signal internal stability, and stability is rare, and rarity increases value, and you start noticing that people interrupt you less because you no longer speak in a way that invites interruption. You no longer ramble into doubt. You say what you mean, and then you stop talking, and that restraint unsettles people who are used to pulling extra information out of you, and they may even try harder to provoke explanation. They may ask again, they may poke for justification, and this is where your growth happens, because now you must hold your ground without escalating. You must repeat your statement once if needed, calmly, without adding new details, and then redirect the conversation. And that repetition without emotional leakage builds psychological weight around your words. And internally, you are training yourself to detach your worth from immediate approval, which is one of the core principles of emotional mastery. You begin to observe your impulse to defend, and you choose not to act on it. You begin to realize that most explanations are not about clarity, but about fear of rejection. And once you see that clearly, you cannot unsee it. And you start applying discipline daily. You practice giving answers that are one sentence long. You remove filler apologies that are not necessary. You stop overusing phrases that soften your position. You stop cushioning every truth to protect someone else's comfort at the expense of your own stability, and slowly your posture changes, your tone slows, your presence sharpens, and people start sensing that you are no longer negotiating your value in every interaction, and that shift influences how you are treated in relationships, because when you stop over-explaining, you stop chasing validation. And when you stop chasing validation, you stop tolerating subtle disrespect disguised as curiosity. And now, when someone questions your decision repeatedly, you recognize it as a boundary test instead of a genuine need for information, and you respond with composed repetition instead of emotional persuasion. And this transforms the dynamic, because now your behavior communicates self-trust, and self-trust is magnetic. And this is not about being cold or distant. It is about being grounded. It is about knowing that your decisions do not require universal approval to remain valid. And when you internalize that truth, you stop shrinking your voice to maintain connection. You stop overperforming explanations to maintain interest. You stop justifying your schedule to maintain access. And you begin to operate from internal authority instead of external reassurance. And that internal authority becomes visible in the smallest interactions, in how you end conversations, in how you respond to delays, in how you handle disagreement. And over time, people recalibrate because they sense that you are no longer easily influenced by pressure. And when you become less reactive to questioning, people question you less. And when you become less defensive, accusations lose power. And when you detach your stability from someone else's reaction, you become harder to manipulate, and that is when respect starts to grow. Not because you demanded it, but because your behavior signals that you respect yourself first. And that is the shift that changes everything. Number 2, set clear boundaries. Clear boundaries separate those who are respected from those who are tolerated, and most people operate without them while wondering why their time, energy, and presence are treated as disposable. Because when standards are not defined, access becomes unlimited. And when access is unlimited, appreciation disappears. And this plays out daily in subtle ways that seem small but accumulate into resentment. Plans get cancelled at the last minute, and the response is immediate accommodation. Jokes cross lines and are dismissed with nervous laughter. Messages arrive late and are answered instantly. Personal priorities are postponed to accommodate someone else's convenience. And internally, there is frustration, but externally, there is compliance. And that gap between inner truth and outer behavior erodes self-respect over time. Because every time a line is crossed without consequence, a silent message is sent that says, "This is acceptable," and people respond to patterns, not words. So even if dissatisfaction is expressed emotionally once, if behavior does not change afterward, the pattern remains intact. And discipline begins by recognizing that boundaries are not emotional reactions, but pre-decided standards applied consistently. Meaning clarity must exist before confrontation ever occurs. And that requires sitting down alone and defining what is non-negotiable in areas like time, communication, commitment, respect, and effort. Writing them down, being specific, deciding what action will follow if they are violated, and committing internally to follow through regardless of temporary discomfort. Because the discomfort of enforcing a boundary is always lighter than the long-term resentment of abandoning one. And the reason boundaries are often avoided is fear of losing connection. Fear that if access is restricted, interest will disappear. But connection built on constant availability is not respect-based connection. It is convenience-based attachment, and convenience dissolves the moment something more stimulating appears. Whereas boundaries create structure, and structure creates tension in a productive way. And tension generates awareness of value, because scarcity increases appreciation, And this is visible when availability is reduced and suddenly communication becomes more intentional, when tolerance for disrespect disappears and tone shifts accordingly, when rescheduling no longer happens automatically and effort begins to match. And applying Stoic discipline here means separating what is controllable from what is not, recognizing that other people's reactions are outside personal control while response and consistency are fully controllable. So when a boundary is expressed calmly and the other person reacts with irritation, guilt tactics, or withdrawal, that reaction is data, not disaster. It reveals whether respect was conditional on unlimited access. And instead of chasing reassurance or softening the standard to restore comfort, stability is maintained. Voice remains calm, decision remains firm, and attention returns to purpose, because boundaries are maintained through behavior more than speeches. Meaning, if someone repeatedly arrives late, future meetings begin without waiting. If someone communicates carelessly, responses slow down proportionally. If someone tests emotional reactions, composure remains intact and engagement decreases. And these adjustments are not revenge or manipulation, but alignment. Alignment between stated standards and actual conduct. And the transformation begins internally when approval is no longer the currency guiding decisions. When the need to be chosen is replaced by the decision to choose wisely, and this shift changes posture, tone, eye contact, scheduling habits, digital communication patterns, and even career choices, because boundaries extend beyond relationships into how work is accepted, how overtime is negotiated, how compensation is discussed, how friendships are maintained. And once patterns of self-abandonment are identified, they can be interrupted consciously, meaning next time a last-minute cancellation happens, the automatic impulse to rearrange is paused, breath slows, calendar remains intact, and a simple response communicates that availability is no longer flexible for inconsiderate behavior. And at first, there may be pushback, because any system resists change. But consistency outlasts resistance, and gradually interactions recalibrate, and those unwilling to respect standards drift away, creating space for those who operate at a compatible level of maturity. And this natural filtering process is necessary for growth, because universal approval is impossible, and selective alignment is powerful. And as boundaries solidify internally, there is less emotional volatility. Externally, because clarity reduces confusion, and when standards are clear, decisions become simple, not easy but simple. Meaning no more overthinking about whether a line was crossed, no more replaying conversations searching for hidden meanings, no more internal debates about whether expectations are too high. Because once values are defined clearly and enforced consistently, self-doubt decreases, and that internal steadiness influences every interaction, and over time, reputation shifts from accommodating to composed, from reactive to grounded, from endlessly available to selectively engaged, and that shift changes how invitations are extended, how opinions are considered, how disagreements are handled, and how presence is perceived, because boundaries communicate self-respect non-verbally, and self-respect invites external respect naturally, and the key is consistency without hostility, firmness without aggression, clarity without apology, and patience without compromise, applied repeatedly in daily situations until it becomes identity rather than effort. And at that stage, boundaries are no longer strategies but expressions of character, and character commands value without asking for it. Number 3, control your emotions. Emotional instability quietly destroys perceived value faster than incompetence ever could, because people instinctively measure reliability through composure under pressure. And every time reactions explode, defensive tone rises, messages are sent impulsively, or frustration leaks into conversations. Authority shrinks in real time, and this pattern is painfully familiar in modern relationships and daily interactions, where a delayed reply triggers overthinking, where a short response is interpreted as rejection, where a small disagreement turns into a long emotional debate, and internally, there is urgency to resolve discomfort immediately, to restore reassurance, to regain certainty. But that urgency is precisely what gives away leverage, because whoever is more emotionally invested in immediate resolution is automatically negotiating from a weaker position, and that is difficult to accept, yet impossible to ignore once observed clearly. And the discipline required here is not suppression, but mastery, meaning emotions are acknowledged internally without allowing them to dictate external behavior. And this requires practice in moments when ego is bruised, when attention is withdrawn, when expectations are unmet, because those are the exact moments where growth either happens or stagnation continues. And imagine a situation where someone pulls back slightly in communication, and instead of reacting with anxiety or confrontation, composure is maintained. Breathing slows deliberately, thoughts are examined rather than obeyed, and action is delayed until clarity replaces impulse, and that single pause shifts the entire dynamic, because now behavior is intentional rather than reactive. And over time, this becomes identity, not performance. And the reason emotional discipline is rare is because most people are addicted to immediate relief. They want reassurance instantly. They want validation quickly. They want conflict resolved on their timeline. But strength is built in tolerating temporary discomfort without abandoning principles. And this applies not only to relationships, but to career setbacks, financial stress, social tension, criticism, and rejection, because emotional steadiness signals maturity, and maturity signals value. And when criticism comes publicly, instead of defending aggressively, posture remains relaxed, voice lowers slightly, response is concise, and sometimes silence is chosen strategically, not out of fear, but out of confidence that not every attack deserves energy. And this confuses those who expect visible agitation, because they are used to provoking reactions to measure influence. And when influence fails, respect often increases, and internally this mastery is developed through daily habits, such as delaying responses to triggering messages, writing down emotional reactions before speaking them, questioning whether the reaction aligns with long-term goals, and asking whether the current urge serves growth or merely soothes ego. And this constant internal questioning builds awareness, and awareness creates space between stimulus and response. And within that space lies power. And over time, emotional triggers lose intensity because discipline strengthens, and there is less obsession over tone, less interpretation of hidden meanings, less compulsion to fix every tension immediately, and more focus on purpose, routine, health, skill development, and mission. And as attention shifts towards self-improvement rather than emotional negotiation, interactions begin to rebalance naturally, because neediness decreases, and when neediness decreases, perceived value increases. And this is not manipulation, but alignment with reality, because dependency repels while independence attracts. And independence here does not mean detachment from connection, but detachment from outcome, meaning connection is welcomed, yet not clung to. Effort is given, yet not overextended. Interest is shown, yet not forced. And when emotional spikes occur, they are observed rather than obeyed. And this internal discipline changes body language subtly. Shoulders settle, speech slows, eye contact stabilizes, gestures become measured, and these small shifts accumulate into a presence that commands attention without demanding it. And over time, people sense that pressure does not break composure, that disagreement does not shatter stability, that silence does not provoke panic, and that steadiness becomes associated with reliability and strength. And once reliability is established emotionally, Value rises automatically because people gravitate toward those who do not collapse under tension, and the transformation is gradual yet undeniable, beginning with small daily practices such as resisting the urge to double text when a reply is delayed, resisting the urge to argue immediately when criticized, resisting the urge to explain excessively when misunderstood, and instead choosing to act according to principles rather than impulses. And this consistency builds internal trust, and internal trust eliminates the desperate search for external reassurance. And when reassurance is no longer desperately sought, interactions shift from anxious to grounded, from reactive to composed, from chasing to choosing, and that shift is visible to everyone even if never spoken about. And the result is not emotional coldness, but emotional maturity, the ability to experience emotion fully without becoming controlled by it. And in modern dynamics where emotional volatility is common, steadiness becomes rare currency, and rare currency holds value. And over time, this emotional mastery transforms not only how others treat you, but how you perceive yourself, because self-respect grows when discipline overrides impulse, and that self-respect radiates outward in every interaction, reshaping the standards by which you are treated. Number 4. Improve your skills. Competence changes how the world responds to you, because value in any environment is tied to contribution, and when contribution is average, treatment becomes average, and many frustrations that appear to be about respect are actually about capability, because when skills are weak, dependence increases, and when dependence increases, confidence decreases, and when confidence decreases, posture shifts, tone softens, decisions hesitate, and people unconsciously register that instability. And this shows up in relationships where effort is high, but direction is unclear, where time is given but purpose is missing, where attention is constant, but growth is stagnant. And stagnation quietly reduces attraction in every area of life, because progress is compelling while complacency is draining. And the uncomfortable truth is that effort without improvement does not create value. It creates noise, and noise is easy to ignore. And this is where self-examination begins honestly, not emotionally but factually. Asking what measurable skill is being developed consistently, what area of life is being sharpened daily, what strength is being built that increases leverage and independence, because independence increases options, and options increase perceived worth. And when there are no options, there is silent desperation, and desperation influences behavior in subtle ways, influencing tone, influencing negotiation, influencing how boundaries are enforced. And the solution is not external validation, but internal expansion, meaning selecting one domain and attacking it with disciplined focus, whether that domain is financial literacy, physical conditioning, communication mastery, technical expertise, leadership capacity, or creative output, and breaking it down into structured daily practice, setting clear metrics, tracking progress weekly, eliminating distractions that dilute effort, and building momentum through repetition, because repetition compounds into competence, and competence transforms identity, and identity shapes behavior automatically. And when behavior changes, perception follows, and in modern dynamics where attention is fragmented and discipline is rare, consistency becomes a competitive advantage. And that advantage is visible long before results are spoken about, because structured living radiates through scheduling habits, punctuality, follow-through, and energy management. And when someone sees that time is allocated intentionally rather than wasted impulsively, respect begins to form naturally. And this is not about proving worth to others, but about building undeniable self-trust. Because once internal trust is solid, external opinions lose power. And when external opinions lose power, emotional stability strengthens. And when emotional stability strengthens, interactions rebalance. And it becomes clear that many relational frustrations stem from internal gaps rather than external injustice, and this realization is empowering because it places transformation within reach, meaning instead of obsessing over who is not valuing you, focus shifts to becoming someone whose absence creates inconvenience, someone whose contribution is tangible, someone whose presence solves problems. And this does not require arrogance, but requires excellence in something specific. And excellence is built through deliberate discomfort. Waking up early to train when motivation is low, studying when entertainment is available, practicing communication by initiating difficult conversations instead of avoiding them, investing money instead of spending impulsively, tracking habits instead of drifting aimlessly, and these actions accumulate quietly until the internal narrative changes from uncertainty to certainty, and once certainty develops, behavior simplifies, conversations shorten, boundaries strengthen, and desperation fades, and suddenly attention is no longer chased because focus is redirected toward growth, and growth is inherently attractive because it signals trajectory, and trajectory suggests future potential, and people are drawn toward those who are clearly moving somewhere rather than wandering emotionally. And this applies equally in professional environments where skill depth determines negotiation power, where preparation determines confidence during high-pressure moments, and where measurable results silence doubt without argument. And applying Stoic discipline here means detaching from immediate praise and anchoring effort to long-term standards, showing up consistently whether acknowledged or not, measuring improvement by internal benchmarks rather than applause, and maintaining composure during slow progress phases, because progress is rarely linear, and persistence during plateaus builds resilience, and resilience reinforces identity, and identity solidifies presence, and as competence rises, so does selectivity, because options expand, and when options expand, behavior changes organically. There is less tolerance for mediocrity in environments, less willingness to remain in stagnant circles, less attachment to people who do not align with growth trajectory, and that quiet selectivity increases perceived value because scarcity increases appreciation, and this transformation is practical, not theoretical, starting with writing down a one-year objective in one core area, breaking it into quarterly milestones, translating those into weekly action steps, and reviewing them every Sunday without emotional drama, adjusting based on data, not mood, and repeating this process relentlessly, and over months posture straightens naturally, speech steadies naturally, decisions quicken naturally, and people begin responding differently without knowing exactly why. Because what changed internally now projects externally, and once that shift is undeniable, the cycle reverses. Instead of chasing recognition, recognition begins to arrive. Instead of seeking validation, opportunities begin to appear. Instead of questioning worth results, begin to answer that question automatically. And that is the power of competence built deliberately over time, reshaping not only how others treat you, but how you operate in every domain of life. Number 5, stop chasing. Chasing begins the moment self-worth becomes tied to someone else's response time, attention level, or emotional availability, and that pattern is painfully visible in modern dynamics, where one person invests disproportionately, initiates consistently, adjusts repeatedly, waits anxiously, overthinks minor shifts, and rearranges priorities in the hope that effort will be rewarded with deeper connection. Yet the more energy poured in without reciprocity, the more imbalance grows, and imbalance quietly erodes perceived value, because human psychology responds to scarcity and self-sufficiency more strongly than to constant availability. And when availability is unlimited, appreciation declines, and this shows up in small behaviors such as replying instantly to delayed messages, double texting when no response comes, canceling personal plans to remain open just in case attention appears, checking devices repeatedly for validation, replaying conversations, searching for reassurance, and internally justifying it as care or commitment, when in reality it is attachment to outcome, and attachment to outcome transfers power away from you because it places emotional stability in someone else's hands. And Stoic discipline requires reversing that dynamic by anchoring stability internally rather than externally, meaning actions are guided by principle rather than impulse, by long-term standards rather than short-term relief. And this begins by recognizing that chasing is often driven by fear of loss, fear that if effort decreases, interest will disappear. Yet interest sustained only by constant pursuit is fragile and conditional, and fragile dynamics demand continuous energy to maintain, creating exhaustion and resentment. And detachment is the corrective force, not in the form of cold withdrawal, but in the form of grounded independence, where investment matches investment, where effort mirrors effort proportionally without emotional escalation, where time is allocated according to priorities rather than anxiety. And implementing this requires concrete changes, such as setting specific windows for communication instead of responding impulsively, refraining from initiating repeatedly without reciprocation, limiting availability when standards are not met, and redirecting focus toward personal goals, health routines, financial growth, skill development, and meaningful social circles. Because when life becomes structured around purpose rather than pursuit of one individual interaction, the psychological pressure decreases naturally, and when pressure decreases, tone changes, body language changes, conversation rhythm changes, and that shift is noticeable because now presence communicates choice rather than need, and need lowers value while choice elevates it, and detachment here does not eliminate care but refines it. Care becomes selective, intentional, measured, and this measured investment signals confidence, and confidence increases attractiveness across contexts and in moments where someone tests boundaries through inconsistency or ambiguity. Instead of confronting emotionally or seeking clarification aggressively, attention returns to self-directed action. Projects are advanced, routines are maintained, commitments are honored, and that disciplined redirection demonstrates internal abundance, and abundance shifts dynamics more effectively than arguments ever could. And over time, this steady independence filters interactions. Those who respect balanced investment remain, while those dependent on one-sided effort fade away, and that natural filtering is necessary for long-term stability because connection built on imbalance cannot sustain respect. And this process requires tolerating uncertainty without attempting to force outcomes, tolerating unanswered messages without collapsing into over-analysis, tolerating distance without rushing to close it prematurely. And this tolerance strengthens emotional resilience, and resilience strengthens presence, and presence grounded in independence commands different treatment automatically. And applying Stoic principles here means separating controllable actions from uncontrollable reactions, investing energy only in what can be shaped directly, such as daily habits, physical training, career advancement, financial planning, and social expansion, while releasing obsession over variables outside control, such as someone else's fluctuating attention. And this separation reduces anxiety and increases clarity, and clarity allows decisions to be made from strength rather than fear, and gradually self-perception shifts from someone waiting to be chosen to someone choosing intentionally, and that internal repositioning influences every interaction because posture reflects certainty, speech reflects calm pacing, and behavior reflects selectivity. And when selectivity increases, perceived value rises because scarcity and discernment signal standards, and standards attract alignment, and the transformation becomes undeniable as chasing dissolves and composure replaces it, as overinvestment fades and proportional effort takes its place, as attachment weakens and independence strengthens, And this independence is not isolation, but self-sufficiency, not emotional numbness, but emotional regulation. And through consistent practice of redirecting energy towards self-development rather than external validation, the entire dynamic of relationships, work, and social engagement recalibrates, and the individual who once sought reassurance now radiates stability, and stability commands respect without demanding it. And that is the final shift where value is no longer requested, but recognized organically. And if this shift is opening your eyes to how deeply your behavior has shaped your relationships, the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men is the next step, built on timeless principles of discipline, self-command, and emotional steadiness that you can apply immediately to transform how you show up and how you are treated. It answers the questions that keep you up at night. Why do I overinvest? Why do I tolerate less than I deserve? How do I become unshakable in modern relationships? And it gives you clear, practical structure to correct those patterns without confusion. It is now available in audiobook form, so you can absorb this life-changing knowledge while walking, training, driving, or building your body and your future at the same time. The link is in the comments, and once you own it, it is yours permanently, meaning you can return to it whenever life tests you and sharpen your mindset again and again. If you are serious about becoming the man who is respected without asking, this blueprint removes excuses and replaces them with clarity. Everything you heard today demands responsibility, and most people will ignore it because change requires discipline. But if something inside you knows you are done being overlooked, the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men is your next move, filled with timeless Stoic principles that rebuild your standards, your presence, and your leverage immediately. Society rewards distraction and dependency because a focused, self-governing man is hard to influence. And this book cuts through that noise with direct structure you can apply the same day you read or listen. It is now available in audiobook form, so you can absorb this life-changing knowledge while walking, training, commuting, building your body and your future at the same time. And once you own it, it is yours for life, a permanent reference when tests come. The link is in the comments, and if you are ready to step into a different standard, comment, "I reclaim my power," so you declare it publicly. Like the video and subscribe to help more men find these truths and save themselves years of regret.